Real quick, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Go to YouTube in the search bar, go ahead and type in Triple Play Video Podcast. You'll see all the content that we're going to be throwing at you. And we are, again, thankful that you're tuning in, and we'll see you real soon.
3 actions athletes can do right now at home to prepare for this season, the upcoming season of 2020. This is Triple Play Podcast. We want to welcome everyone here at the Triple Play Podcast. Joining us today is our good friend Casey Gibson, and also our new friend, John Masadi. John is with Elite Personal Fitness, owner of Elite Personal Fitness, and I think he's down here. He's over there, like a Brady Bunch. He's here with us today, and what we want to talk about, which is extremely important now, we can all agree with this, is what are athletes doing right now to preparing themselves to get better this season. And John, we wanted to bring you on, to give everyone a little bit about feedback of your expertise. You've trained professional athletes, currently training professional athletes. We won't name any names. Pat Corbin, and you work with not just athletes, but anyone that's looking to get training in. Your gym is, from this personal experience, I've done a great job. You got me into peak physical condition, into my 30s of non-playing days. But so we decided to bring you on, and John, welcome. Thank you for coming on here.
Thank you for having me.
So the question is this, and that is for these kids out there that are sitting, okay, and playing their games, video games, and wondering when baseball is going to resume, or softball is going to resume, or any athletic event is going to resume. What are 3 takeaways from this video that they can take away to get better?
I would say the first thing and probably the biggest thing would be to continue training. So if they were training before, they got to keep it going. And if you're not training, then this is the best time to start, because you have, yes, we have the school. Yes, you still have to do all that stuff. But now is such a good time to take advantage of it because of the time that you have. And the training really is kind of like the minimum that we recommend, even when our doors are open and we're still training athletes in person. 3 days a week is a minimum. So right now, they don't even need to have equipment. We've been making workouts for our athletes, and it's all, body weight stuff. And trust me, it seems like super lame. Like everybody wants to go and lift weights, and do all that stuff. And look, I think that external loads or lifting weights is like the best way to become a better athlete, and just overall well-rounded. But for the time being, this isn't going to be a lifelong thing, and you can get in crazy shape with just body weight stuff. And there's a lot of things that you can do to make things harder. I mean, say if you can do 30 push-ups in a row, we can slow down the tempo. We can add some explosive, aspects to it to make sure that you won't be able to get more intense, and your chest is going to be sore for days, from doing stuff like that, to increase the intensity. This is when kids can get really creative with stuff, with weights, or even just like grabbing something and pulling it. We have our people getting backpacks, filling them with books. I mean, all the kids have all the textbooks and stuff like that. And there's typically handles all over the backpacks. You can hold them in different ways, where you hold them front rack like that and squat with them. You can do a ton of single leg stuff.
Airs.
Yeah. I mean, and for the most part, you got a backyard you can do sprints in if you really need to get some running in. But we've been offering, and we talked about it earlier, on our YouTube, we've been giving away free athlete workouts, just so that if somebody doesn't know what to do, if they weren't training beforehand and don't have an idea of like, hey, I have no idea what to do exercise-wise, they can give them some sort of a plan. We give them a new one every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
What's that channel?
That is just our Elite Personal Fitness YouTube channel. Okay. We post it on our Facebook too. But there's a lot of creative ways that you can make the body weight training much more difficult. Even with, like, say, single leg stuff, we do a ton of stuff with baseball and softball players with single leg work. because we don't do a lot of overhead pressing or a lot of heavy, like say barbell pressing, where they're going like this. We usually use dumbbells, but we do a ton of push-ups with our kids. We do a ton of chin-ups with our baseball, softball, squats, and then single leg stuff. So single leg stuff would be like lunges, them stepping up on the stairs. So like step ups, jumping, a lot of jumps with their legs, because, when you're in that sport, you're usually transitioning from say your right leg to your left leg. You're never usually doing stuff from both legs at the same time, even when you're running.
Gears, right?
Say it again.
Gears.
Yeah, it's huge. And so,
suggesting you can do circuits with that, right? Just trying to get them into a frame of mind of what would a mini workout be. Do circuits, body squats, do some lunges, 3 sets.
Just
do whatever.
Super easy. Yeah. Super easy, and what we've been doing is been doing controlling the tempo. So, say like with a squat, say you grab a backpack full of weights and you're keeping it close, or with the books, keeping it close to your chest. We're going to go like a 5-second lower, so like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And once we get down to the bottom, we're focusing on pushing force into the ground as hard as we can and then coming up fast. So we're still generating force. Okay, we're still getting a resistance, outside of our body weight. And you can still transfer that stuff to sports really, really easily.
Right.
And the same thing with, or even if you just did push-ups and you just did negative. Say you're 12 years old, you can't do one push-up. Well, you can lower in a push-up, which will end up getting you better at push-up. So say you go push-up position and you just count to like 8, 8, 7, 6, and you go all the way down to your chest comes up to 4, get up however you need to, and then do that again. And we usually say push-pull. So say if you do, say, a push-up, try to do some form of rowing or pulling. And then you can also do, say, let's do a single leg, so like a lunge variation, step-up variation, and then, say, a squat. And if you're doing stuff like that, and then you're also adding in, say, planks, side planks to where you're doing some core, if you're just consistently training, like most kids are going to take it easy during this time. And this is the time where athletes can really set themselves apart. And we always tell athletes anyways, like most kids aren't training anyways. So, when I was a strength coach at one of our local high schools, like I walked into the place and I'm like, guys, you're the only school with a strength coach. Like you are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of other kids just because you have a structured program. Right. Just because you're actually doing the work. Like if you look at the percentage of kids that are actually training on teams, it's very, very little. And that is one of the biggest ways to set yourself apart. And, say if you were weren't sure if you were going to make the baseball team or softball team, going into tryouts, stuff like that, and then everybody else kind of played video games and hung out. Yeah. And you were actually training, like you're coming back and you're just going to smoke kids.
So you're saying 3 days a week, and you're saying what? 15, 20, 30 minutes maybe of work, a little bit more than that?
I think 30 minutes would be good enough.
Yeah.
And if you could do
we're
more,
talking maintain. We're not looking to build anything here. We're not looking to. You're looking to try to stay maintained where they're at, but still getting a workout in to be able to get them ready. Correct.
I think if they're training, if they're doing 3 to 5 days a week, and they're pushing themselves, you'll get better. You'll get stronger. Okay. It's going to be different, than with weights. I mean, yeah, obviously, if I have weights and I have bands and I have all this equipment, and let's say you're in the gym, obviously our results are going to be way higher, but you can still make a couple percentage of an increase, while on the off season.
Right.
It's just kind of how hard you're going at it.
And I don't think it could be said enough and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, how important it is for these kids to understand, these athletes to understand how important this time is right here. Because this will separate who is going to separate themselves from the pack. Because there are kids out there that are not going to do anything because they need a parent or they need a coach by their side all the time to help them get through things. You can say whatever you want about that. But then there's going to be the kids that are like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to do it on commercial breaks after I play a little round of whatever on PS4, I'm going to continue to keep staying in shape because the mindset should be baseball is happening this year, and I'm going to be ready for it no matter what. And if it's not, and if it doesn't happen this year, you were ready for it anyway. You can just continue on your late summer, late fall programs and start going, start reprogramming that way. But the mindset has to be baseball's on, flush out the noise, everything else that you're hearing, and get ready. So, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
15, 20, 30 minutes. Push yourself hard. Do whatever you got to do to get it done. Which leads us to number 2. John, what's number 2?
The next 2 are super easy. And this comes down to because this is really just business as usual for our athletes. We're like, hey, we want you training, we want you sleeping, and we want you eating. So those 3 things are like the biggest things that we focus on with our athletes. And when kids are in school, the eating and the sleeping are usually not on point. And that is the biggest time for them to get gains. Their recovery is just as, if not more important than the training. So they have to be putting in the sweat equity. They have to decide how bad they want it with the training. And then we're like, all right, well, now we need to follow up. We need to be sleeping more than 8 hours a day. Because when you're going to school and you're doing all that stuff, all that stress, practice, all that stuff, athletes typically need like 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So even now, like we kind of joked about it earlier, but they may be going to bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning, but you can still get that time in, by sleeping in. I met most parents I know aren't waking their kids up at 6 a.m. During this quarantine and being like, you got to get up. You're not sleeping the rest of the day. So whether it be through naps, in the middle of the day, if you do wake up early, but getting that sleep in is huge in that recovery. And especially if you're pushing yourself, that's probably one of the biggest things that we focus on, especially kids that are trying to gain size and muscle, right? And keeping their strength. Recovery's massively important. If you're getting no sleep every day, you're just going to be tired and you're not going to be performing at your best at training as good as you could. And piggybacking off what you said earlier, it really comes down to how bad you want it.
No doubt.
If you want to, you can't be complaining about playing time and stuff like that if during the quarantine you weren't eating right, sleeping right, and training.
Yeah, to me, it's 100% that, and it's also if you've already made up your mind that you want to be great at this sport, okay, or whatever sport that you're in, what other better way to not only get better, to be an ultra athlete, than to follow the top leaders in the sport? What are they doing that makes them so great? You should be following them. Instagram, anything else. What are they eating? How are they sleeping? You should be just all over what they're doing. If you want to be, if you just like the game, like playing the game, hats off to you. That's great. But for those that want to make it to college, they want to even a D1 program, they want to get drafted. You got to be following these people. It's the only, why not look at what they're doing and then say, I need to be doing that? Because I can guarantee you they're not playing Fortnite at 3 in the morning.
No, not a chance.
They're getting the reps in every day. They're hungry. They want it. Yeah. Actually, that's good because that leads into number 3.
Yeah, it's just eating and drinking. So drinking water, that's always a problem for our kids anyways. Getting enough water throughout the day, with them carrying around water bottles and stuff like that, making sure that they are drinking because that is a huge part of recovery. And then when you start going into practices and stuff like that, it's probably going to be hot. And if you've been drinking 2 liters of soda, or not drinking anything, at all, when you come back, you're going to be limited based off of just how much water you have in your body. Let alone if you weren't training, it's going to be a bad situation coming back to practice. It's going to be a rude awakening. But and then food. All of our athletes, even during the year, they're not eating enough. And they're not sleeping enough. So food wise, they're burning more calories now than they're ever going to burn in the rest of their life. They're just like a furnace, and especially the kids that are trying to gain size and muscle and strength. it's like you have to have a surplus. You have to have more than what you need. And it's really tough because that usually is typically the hardest part for athletes because you have to eat when you're not hungry.
We can premise that with, though, what they're putting in their mouths. Not so much we want a high calorie intake. We want good calories.
Yeah, we need, like we tell people, and this is all around, just regular general health, but then also athletes as well. We're like, try to get some form of protein in every single meal.
Yeah.
Okay. Some form of carbs. You don't have to go nuts with it, but you just need to have the best carbs that you can. So like rice is, say, a great option, which you can add a ton of spices and whatever you need, make it really easy to make that actually really taste really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then vegetables. And now is the time to play because, now you have time to cook food. Now you because what was limiting, say, our athletes during the school year was school.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, I'm going to eat breakfast at this time. And then I would, say, even during the summer, I'd be like, what'd you have for breakfast? We'd ask our kids every single day, what'd you have for breakfast? And 90% of the time, it was nothing. I just woke up.
Right.
So we're like, all right, so you guys got to eat something before you come here. So say they go to school, okay, they eat before school. Lunch could be at the end of the day, or it could be like in the middle of the day. And then after that, if they brought enough food, they'd eat after school or they'd go home and then they'd have practice. So it's like they had to work really hard to fit all those things in and get protein shakes and all these other things to try to fill the gaps because, well, look, they can't bring like a cooler to school. One, everyone's going to make fun of them.
Right.
So they're going to be like, but then also too, it's, they're not like an adult where we could say, okay, I'm going to go prep all my meals and I'm going to have a microwave at work, and all this. They don't have that. So now is almost even the best time to get ahead of the competition because you have all those things access to you. And for the most part, a lot of parents are home, so they can help you with that. Like when I was an athlete in training and I didn't know how to cook something, it was like one night I was like, Mom, how do I like grilled chicken? Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And she'd be like, all right. And then she would show me and then I'd be like, okay. And then you just figure out how you like it. And then you end up cooking it to how you like it. But, saying like how bad you wanted it, when I was in school, and I would say an aggressively average athlete, I was like, hey, I needed to get bigger. So I was eating like 8 eggs, every single morning for breakfast, 2 packets of oatmeal, and I could barely get it down, but I needed to gain weight and I wanted it really, really bad. So I took the steps that I needed to, and I didn't have a quarantine to follow on to have all the time. And the I had to fit it all in when it was technically harder to do so, but life's going to get back to normal. It has to, we don't know the day or when it's going to happen, but kids just got to get after it. And if you're competitive and if you want to win, and I hated losing, so I wanted to do everything I could to make sure that I was winning, whether it was helping my team win, or myself get some playing time and stuff like that, and do the best that I could because I just wanted to be better than what I was. And so they have to be aggressive and go after what you want because no one's going to give it to you.
No, and it's so easy right now in case I'll pass it to you if you have any questions for John, but it's so easy right now for these kids to just lay it back. So
yeah.
And they need to understand that is the exact opposite of what they should be doing. They should be having the mindset of baseball starts tomorrow, softball starts tomorrow. So what do I need to do today to be able to get it in? We touched on it. 3 days a week, minimum, you should be training 30 minutes tops. Okay? You can find something in your house to do. There's something in your house to get a workout in. Use your body, whatever it takes, body weights. Okay? 8+ hours of sleep. You hear that? 8+ hours of sleep. It's a dream come true. We don't get that. We don't have the luxury of that anymore. You get to sleep. Drink water. Stay hydrated. Eat right. We're not saying eat perfect. Strive for it. You can have a little bit of a cheat. If you're going to cheat, John, back me up. Cheat in the morning, right? So you can burn it off throughout the day. Right? Don't eat at night. Don't eat at night. But be ready. Be ready to go. No matter what you're hearing outside, be ready to go like we're starting tomorrow. Case, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my first question to John, is there, like, say they don't have dumbbells or weights at home, is there something they can use to kind of make up for that, like maybe a bag of flour or something that they can use?
anything. I mean, depending on the movements, you can use like gallon of waters, or say you guys finished a gallon of milk, clean it out, fill it up with water, tape over the top, make sure that it doesn't leak. You can fill it with sand or dirt if you can find anything like that. I mean, I live in Janesville, New York, where everything's rocks, so I can go in my backyard and fill a backpack, with rocks and have the weights available there. That's probably the easiest one, is getting a backpack, getting rocks or something heavy, and then putting it in, and then zipping it up and using it. That's probably the most versatile piece of equipment. Most people have something, or we can get creative enough to do that yourself. I mean, say like I got a picnic table in my backyard. Like I can squat down, get underneath it, the handles, and then stand up with it.
Right.
It'll just tilt up and then go back down. You can get creative with stuff like
I like
that.
one. That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, and it really comes down to how creative you can get to say, as long as something's not way out in front of you. So if it's like I'm reaching to grab it, like that could be potentially dangerous, say lower back wise. We obviously don't want to get anybody hurt. But anything that you can find with a handle that you can either fill with weights or fill with something heavy. We really like the backpack idea. We've been telling all of our people to do that. Most of our people, probably 90% of our people, have something in their basement, or they have some dumbbells. If you have like 10s and they're super easy, you're doing more weights or doing more reps. You can slow it down. You can control it coming going up and say control it going down. And there's ways to make it harder. You just have to get creative.
Dude, wall squat.
Yeah. I mean, there's like you can go in your backyard, grab a rock, and throw it behind you. That's one of the best movements for generating power.
Yeah.
You can grab a rock, twist, and then throw it. Just like you would with a med ball at a gym against a wall. But you're still training rotational power. You're still doing stuff, but it just kind of comes down to how bad you want it. Because if you really want it, you're going to look around your house and you can be like, I can pick that up safely. And figure out kind of what you can do. And actually, I think it would be fun to do stuff like that.
I guess my next question would be go-to meal. What's the go-to meal? Even yours or one that you suggest, just one meal that's a go-to that is
I got
great.
two that are really good. So there's Monster Mash. So Monster Mash is ground beef and rice, and you can put bone broth in it. So you just brown up the meat, cook up the rice, mix it together. You can really add whatever you want to it. So you can add like tomatoes, you can add spinach, you can add all that stuff and mix it all together. And you can control like carbs, like say you don't want that much, say rice, put that stuff together. You can cook that and plan it out and have it for lunch. That one's super easy and it gives you everything that you need. The second one is my favorite meal by far. It's super, super easy and it tastes like candy, is chocolate granola. Okay. And then there's like whole fat Greek yogurt. You mix that up and then you cut up strawberries and blueberries. It's unreal. It's so good, and like it takes 5 seconds to make, and you can play with how much you want of each one. But you got to get the whole fat version of it, because if you get like the 1% or anything, they take fat out of it and they put chemicals in.
We don't want that.
So
we don't want
to use the whole fat. Your body can take advantage of the fuel.
John, have you heard
Those
of
are my two favorite meals.
company?
Say that again.
Have you heard of it? In our earlier podcast, we talked about the Habsy Cookie Company. We'll talk about that later.
Oh no, I've never heard of that.
Delicious.
You got to try it.
It's going against everything we just talked about, so we're not even going to go there. But anyway, again, it's bringing it all back and wrapping this up. This is a long one, but I think it's information that these kids and these parents need to hear, is that get your mind right. If you want it, work out. Number one. Number two, get your sleep in. No matter when and where, just get your sleep in. 8 hours minimum. Get your sleep in. Drinking water, staying hydrated, drinking the right things, and eating the right way. And you're preparing that you're playing tomorrow. Until this whole mess is done, but we're not even worried about the outside noise. We're getting ready like we're playing for tomorrow.
That's right.
Okay. And with all that being said, John Masadi, thank you so much for taking part of the Triple Play podcast.
My pleasure.
And
thank you, man.
I was aside. And of course, Casey, I think that was you said like 3 sentences. That's okay. And myself, Justin Arsenal, thanks for joining us here on the Triple Play podcast.